Thank you, Marshall. Hi, everybody. Today is July 24th. This is the Wednesday CALPADS Q A. My name is Alex Dondi. I'm a data analyst at CSIS supporting CALPADS, and driving for us today will be Mr. Paul Higgins. In terms of announcements, the big one really that I hope everyone knows is the deadline. The initial EOY deadline is this Friday. That's just 2 days away. And we are looking for LEA approval status for all 4 of your submissions at the very least. If you have SELPA approval for end of year 3 and 4, that's great. That's, we highly recommend that. However, we at the very minimum are looking for LEA approval for all 4 of your submissions by end of day Friday. There is a final deadline on August 16th. That is the end of the amendment window. And at that point, we are looking for SELPA approval for both EOY 3 and EOY 4. And as we've mentioned previously, and there's been communication out on this, there is no plan for extensions on either deadline. So please plan accordingly and reach out for help whenever you feel like you're getting stuck. And that was it on my end. I'm going to pass the baton over now to Martha. Angela?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My computer is kind of glitching out. It's real slow right now. Turned my video off to see if that would help. Just that the known issues are up to date, Paul, if you wanted to navigate over there with the fixes that went in yesterday. And then just a few moments ago, we patched report 3.15. It's at the very bottom in the footer. So that's current. That's all I had to say.
CDE?
Nothing at this time.
So is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay, so I am posting an announcement in the chat and I will be sending it to the listserv. So I'm finally letting everybody know officially that I am retiring shortly. So my last Q&A.
I'm too emotional for this. I was not prepared.
I was thinking maybe I should have saved it for the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of you know Martha is the heart and soul of CSIS, so she's going to leave a big hole for us, but we're wishing her well and her new adventures.
So for me and our CalPADS team, I know I say a very heartfelt thank you. Martha, we've expressed it to you many times, but I'm still expecting for you to be on call. So like that hasn't left me yet. I'm like, yes, but I am so grateful for the wisdom that you've shared, everything that you've done. You are invaluable, and we will greatly miss you, but I still fully expect for you to be like Paula and around.
Yes,
like in my head, I'm like, she's still coming back. She's still coming back, even though you haven't told me you'll be back.
But also hoping that this is, the greatest EOY submission yet, that everybody gets certified early.
Yeah. Let's make that a parting gift for you, Martha. All right. Well, with that, suppose we can jump in to questions. We're starting off with Natasha from Escondido. Question 1 says, for summer EBT purposes, Flash 282 directs LEAs to evaluate eligibility through August 31st for the 23-24 summer EBT eligibility. If an income application is received after the end of our 23-24 school year, what start date should we use for 181 or 182 program when submitting to CalPADS? Should the end date fall within their enrollment with us or continue into August?
So that the eligibility date should be the date that they became eligible, if I'm reading this correctly. This is a little bit of a lengthy one. Yeah, so the start date that you would use for your 181, 182 program would be the date that they filled out and they were eligible for it. But for the 23, 24 school year, you're asking basically, Natasha, if you would backdate a program for them. And so no, you can't backdate the program because that's the date the same rule applies of when you would fill out you get the application based upon the date that it is received. So that portion of the intake process still applies. Would you change it? No. Yes, you would get that GER5 date if you try and backdate it. So no, you would not be able to do so, nor do we recommend it. And so it would be reviewed for you're sending up those records. So you've got to combine basically Flash 282 and I think it's 269 or 265 together basically. So read both of those flashes, and 282 actually states that to follow the guidance in both flashes there as a combination. So therefore, therefore you can apply the right guidance. And so it has those cycle of dates that Paula reviewed also in the regionals of when they're submitting up information, and then based upon what date that information was submitted, when families should expect to receive, or not when they should expect to receive, but when ServiceNow is sending out those EBT cards. And so some of them, I think it even states like they won't get them maybe until like November.
And Sean, 181, 182, those are eligibility programs, right? So it's okay that the start date falls outside of the student's enrollment. CalPADS will still allow it. Because it doesn't have to correspond with the enrollment start date.
Yes, you're correct, actually, Alex. Yeah. Yeah. I think that answers that one.
I'm going to move on now to Dan, Q1. It says, hello, could you please confirm for me which order we need to certify the EOI or the 4 EOI windows? We have a recommendation, but it's not, Paul is taking us there, it's in the user manual. It's only a recommendation, right? It doesn't have to follow that order, but I believe we say start with end of year 2, just because theoretically that should be your easiest one. Program records should have been submitted continuously throughout the year. And so therefore, by the end of the year, you really are only doing updates or small changes. There shouldn't be that much going on. And so that would be easy win, quote unquote. And then we say, I believe, yeah, thank you. Then it's end of year 4, end of year 1 at the end, and ending with end of year 3. And I believe that end of year 1 and 3 are at the end just simply because we have to wait until the end of school, right? Because of the grades, because of discipline that could happen on the very last day of school and all the enrollment exits. So that's, again, just a recommendation. You can certify whenever you're done with your submissions and the data looks correct to you in any order. Awesome. Congratulations on being done, Dan. Claudia, Q1. If a TK student is TBD, do we still report their TBD status in CalPADS? Yes, that is still going to be expected, and the validation that we have on needing and requiring a SELA record for TK students is still going to be valid. So if you don't submit that SELA record, then for your TK students, you will receive a certification error. So definitely TBD or EO for TK students still needed?
Yes, and so just to add on, within the Flash, we also ask you to continue to collect those HLS forms from families upon their initial enrollment into schools. So Alex is absolutely correct, and that's where you're getting that information from. You don't stop collecting the HLS.
Moving on to Michelle from Lake Q1. Confusion. Do we use a T180 for students attending an online school that requires a fee and is out of state? Student still lives in our district, or do we use a T200? I am meeting with districts and want to make sure I give correct information.
So it's
Feel
actually,
like-
and oh, go
Mhm.
for it.
No, I was just going to say, I feel like this comes up every blue moon, you know?
Yeah.
Go for it, Sean.
Yeah, okay, yes, you're correct. It has, I feel like it has its time periods in which it comes up, and this being end of year and beginning of year, like I feel like we're gonna get this question more and more. And so it's in the FAQ, for the CalPADS FAQ. Alex is going through, oh, I thought you were finding it in the code set. Who's driving? I'm sorry. Gary? Thanks,
Paul.
Gary. Paul. Oh,
Paul.
thanks, Paul.
Paul.
Paul's in his cave over there. Okay. So it's in the FAQs for if they are attending a online school, then yes, it's going to be the T180 for you. The student has it physically. The reason why you're not going to use the T200 is because the student has not physically moved out of state. And so for the attendance reasons, your LEA still has to know that that student lives within your boundaries. Your child welfare and attendance monitor at your LEA, you all should have some type of procedures to where that information is making it to them.
And Paul is highlighting the FAQ there. Thank you both. Moving on to Joseph, Q1. Does the United States minor outlying islands, country code UM, count as being outside or within the United States for the purpose of the enrolled in U.S. school less than 3 cumulative years indicator? Ah, that's a good question. I wonder if the CFS has that definition of what
Anything
counts.
but the US and Puerto Rico.
Yeah, the definition of a Title III eligible immigrant is anybody that's not US or Puerto Rico. So I think that doesn't, the UM doesn't come into play.
I want to repeat what Nate said. I didn't have my volume high enough.
I think he
He
just
said
said,
what Angela said.
Oh, thank you. Thank you both. I appreciate you.
all right. Moving on to Soraya, Q1. How can our team check to see if an SSID has had MIDs merged into it? For context to my question, a counselor at one of our sites has inquired about a new student with an incorrect cohort graduation year. CalPADS shows 2 ninth grade enrollments in 2 consecutive years, but the counselor has shared that the student's cumulative record only has 1 ninth grade year of transcripts and was not retained. We are theorizing it may be a possible MID incorrectly merged in the student's previous enrollments. How can we review this further? Thank you.
Under
know we have-
ODS reports, report 9.2, mid anomalies resolved.
And you can select whatever date range you want on that one, right, Angela?
Correct, yeah. So that report will show you mids that you've resolved and also LEAs that belong to you but were resolved by somebody else. Mara has a good tip too to check the SIMP history and check for things like parents and birthplace and make sure, see if those are all the same, if they're different. So 2 places to check.
Awesome. All right. We move on to Sin now from Danuba, Q1. I have 0 fatals for end of year 4. That's awesome. Congratulations. Says, but I haven't approved it because I am waiting to hear from the SPED department to review the reports. Should I just approve them now? So at the very least, what I would recommend, because you have 0 errors, is that you set that end of year 4 submission as in review. Because what that'll do is it'll freeze those reports. And if anything were to change, if there's any surprise updates, then it won't impact your reports and it won't create a new revised uncertified that could potentially introduce new errors. We do have 2 days left, so I would just say give your SPED department an update saying, hey, if I don't hear from you by tomorrow at noon, I'm just going to go ahead and LEA approve, knowing that you have the amendment window to make any updates if they do end up getting any feedback back to you. But at least that in review will have, you have it set, so you're not going to lose that, and you can use that for certification. Okay, perfect. Tiffany, Q1 says, what is the appropriate exit code and completion status code for SPED students that aged out in CalPADS? We have that in the scenarios chart, I think. Max stage. I can't remember the
Usually I see it as E125, right, Dominic?
I wasn't going to bring up the CalPADS exit code, but I saw that Paul was navigating to the file submission scenarios. It's submission 22.
That's what I thought, and now I'm thinking maybe it was probably the SCNR that she was talking about, but in my head I went straight to the SPED records.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is what's on the screen is the expected data for a student on an IEP that has reached maximum age and is aging out. And then Angela, you said E125 would be the correct enrollment exit?
That's usually what it is. It's usually a prior completer.
Okay.
They usually get their certificate of completion and then come back. And then when they age out, it's E125.
Nancy from Lennox. One says, Lennox is a district of choice. We had several fatal errors for students living in our boundaries. Out of the 28 students with errors, some have addresses in Lennox and others in Inglewood, but still within our boundary. To solve it, we added our district number for geographic residence and transfer code 6 other transfer. Why did we get the error if the students are ours? Yeah. Go.
Hey, Martha, why don't you jump in on this one since you've been taking these?
Okay, I was multitasking. So district of choice, fatal,
Yes.
sir, out of our boundaries. So a flash 281, I believe, kind of outlined what is going on. The way the validation is set up is it's looking to see if there's a student that's enrolled in a district of choice, if their prior enrollment is at another district, it automatically triggers this validation. And even though the student may be matriculating and just moved in, nonetheless, they were previously somewhere else. And so you're going to have to resolve it by telling us what their district of residence is. And then if it's because they matriculated or moved in, then you use the transfer code of 6, and flash 281 spells it all out. It's the way the trigger is set up, and so you just have to know that any kids that are matriculating into a district of choice, you have to go through this each year, their first year that they enroll with you.
I think we should let Martha do the rest of them. Like, that was
Right?
amazing, Paul. Like, Paul, that was
As your
like,
last
wow.
Q&A.
Yes, I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, yes.
Paul could have answered that because he knew I was taking these tickets. He's been reading them.
Hey, I've been following along in your wake, just picking up all the pieces that you've been laying out, and I put them back out in the world.
All right. Moving on, Alejandra, Q1. Do we need to be SELPA approved by July 26th? No, it is strongly encouraged If you can get to SELPA approval, power to you. However, we are only looking at for an LEA approval status for this July 26th deadline. Come August 16th for that final end of the amendment window, that is when we're asking or requiring that you get to that SELPA approval. Next is Rosario. Q1. 1.22 is not rendering. However, okay to certify, or is deadline getting extended?
It's not getting extended because Martha is retired.
Yeah. Chris is suggesting that you try opening it in a different browser. And I do believe sometimes that does work for me as well.
It's also only impacting the larger LEAs too. So she's at Desert Sands, which is a big district. So you could try the trick, Rosario, of just doing a few schools at a time. Also, 1.23 is available, which is the supporting report for that, is available as a supporting report extract. So you could download that, and that's what rolls up to 1.22. So if you needed to verify your counts on 1.23, you could do it there.
And just so y'all know, we are talking about reports not rendering or timing out, and that is an issue that we are discussing with our developers. Moving on to anonymous. Q1, can you tell me how many SELPA approvers can we have for a district? I thought we were limiting SELPA users to just 2?
Yeah, you're correct.
Yes.
Everybody gets just 2. I'm going to let Martha answer this one because she answers it so eloquently.
Yeah, I am multitasking. You guys are making me, stay focused. Okay, so if this is the how many SELPA approvals can we have for a district? I believe the department, CDE, restricts it to just 2 LEA admins as well as 2 SELPA people that can do the approvals.
And why can we only have 2, Martha?
Well, I don't know. There's lots of reasons.
What's the main one that you give us?
The main one I give is that we train the trainer, and so we can't have everybody have access to the service desk, and so it goes along that lines. We just restrict it to 2 for each LEA. Is that what you were thinking, Sean?
Uh-huh. Yes, thank you very much. I can't wait to see this one recorded. I'm like, yay.
Moving on to Diana from Colton. Q1 says, good afternoon. My attendance director wanted me to ask at the Q&A in regards to middle school and high school students with multiple period absences. How does that relate to the chronic rate and the ADA rate? Is there documentation that you can point me to? For the most part, the vast majority will probably, so when we collect the stats, we collect it for all day attendance. Unless you've told us that in the, there's a field within the stats that says period by period attendance, I believe, or something along those lines. But it's an all day attendance code. And so perhaps there are some students that were just missing, let's say in a 5-period day, they only missed the last period. Well, they would be counted as present because for the majority of the day, right, they were there in school. And so you would give us that day as a day attended. How it relates to your ADA rate, that's completely separate. I mean, we don't do ADA rate in CALPADS. And so I would point you to the attendance accounting department within CDE.
I think the data guide also has something about the stats and whether it's daily attendance versus independent study type attendance versus alt-ed attendance. I think it was written in the data guide.
It does. And then Nate's typing in part of that, which I love. but it went away. Hold on a second. And so the other portion is it was somebody that asked. Hold on. Let me get the name. It was your attendance director. So your attendance director should also have their attendance the state's attendance manual there on file. And so that will actually highlight how it calculates for your chronic absenteeism rate and your ADA as well too, based upon several of the factors that Martha was speaking to, of what type of attendance it is, if it's for an independent study or if it's for period attendance as well. It'll have that portion fine tuned there. And Nate gave a very wonderful answer, Diana. So if you can't see it, just click over to the other tab for answered.
Page 78 and 79 of the CalPADS data guide explains the different attendance, and it goes quite in depth of hourly attendance. I didn't put everything that it has, so I think you should look at page 79 of the CalPADS data guide.
Awesome. Thanks, Nate. We are moving on to Miguel, Q1.
I'm sorry, Miguel
oh,
got an acronym that I'm like, whoo, child, that's hard to type out every time.
Oh, for the LEA?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it says, hello, I'm Miguel Mendoza with Galt Joint Union High School District, I'm going to assume. And I was notified by our direct food services that there will now be mandatory monthly direct cert uploads that will need to be made to our SIS. I haven't heard it from any other source and would like to confirm if this was accurate information. That must be an LEA specific thing. There's, as far as I'm concerned, no directive from our end or CDE that says you must do this upload into your SIS, but locally, you may decide that that is something that you are going to be requiring or you know, that's going to be a part of your process.
The Nutrition Services Department within CDE has a FAQ on this, Miguel, and it states that the more frequent, basically, I'll surmise it, is that the more frequent you do it, the more accurate, your data is set to be. For CalPADS, we always recommend at least once a month doing so as a best practice. It's in it's in your ODS extract reports that you can pull it. And for CalPADS, we always ask you, to ensure that you're keeping your data up to date. And I don't remember if it's 2 weeks or if it's a month that we say. So someone can help me out with that part.
To keep CalPADS updated with their
like
data?
we say it should never be we say it should never be more than like 30 days, I thought it was.
It's 14 days.
Thank you, Paul. See, there you go. So it's 2 weeks. There you go.
And I think, Miguel, that the request is coming from your nutrition department because they want the data from CalPADS. As students come and transfer and go, that monthly match is always going to pick up new students if they're coming in. And so they want to make sure they update their record. So it's, not a requirement from us, and it wouldn't help us other than making sure your enrollment is accurate. But it really would help your nutrition department if you're doing it right after every DC comes back, making sure your local systems are updated.
Exactly. Now, I do know that there are some districts that do their direct cert uploads directly into their nutrition services system instead of their SIS because they have some kind of integration between their nutrition services system and their SIS. So it's just, again, all very much a very local decision on what your process looks like. All right, another one from Anonymous, or perhaps a different Anonymous. So I guess I'll treat this as a Q1.
It's your call. It really is.
Our system. So yeah. All right. Okay. So Anonymous says for the US enrollment date, it is usually kindergarten. Since we have TK, how do we now use the TK date or still use kindergarten?
You would use the TK date because remember, for federal purposes, TK is still just an extension of K. In the state of California, we made it a grade level of TK in order to do away with the program to alleviate LEAs. However, TK is still K. So to our anonymous questionnaire, it's the same date. I hope that answers.
Moving on to Larnie from Oxnard, Q1. We have students who are eligible to graduate with the state minimum or foster youth requirements. As you know, the number of credits for these are much lower than that of the standard high school diploma. Is it correct that we are assigning a completion status of 100 standard high school diploma? And are these two foster and state minimum requiring the grad requirement waiver indicator of Y for the student's SENR record? I believe the answer to both of those are yes. It is correct. E230-100 is your completion status. And we also are going to want to know that these students are have that grad exemption indicator set to yes.
You're absolutely correct, Alex. And that's going to be in Flash 274, Larnie.
Miguel, I see your Q2. We're going to circle back. Shelly from Hacienda de la Puente, Q1. I am probably behind, but I just realized this. Will we lose the LCFF funding for TK students that are TBD and might have been EL students if they don't have any other programs that qualify them? I hope this makes sense. Yeah, I think so, right? If the students are within the age parameters but we won't know that they're EL because they can't be tested. And so if that's the only way that they qualify for LCFF, then yes, that would be one less student.
And our wonderful Rebecca, we left from Fresno because, yes, she agrees. Yes, we agree.
Yeah. Jemmy, Q1. On the CalPAT system documentation page, are the documents under system documentation updated for the 24-25 year, even though it says effective for the 23-24 academic year? Thank you for your help.
Our 24-25 rollover has not happened. And I think Alex said the name for me. Jimmy. Is that how we pronounce it?
I'm assuming.
Okay.
Apologies if we're not pronouncing it correctly.
Sorry. Yes. So our rollover hasn't happened for the 24-25 school year. That typically happens, Jimmy, in mid like September there. So are they effective for our 23-24 school year? Yes. Have we posted our updates for 24-25? Not fully yet, just because there are some things that have to take place after certification. There'll be lots of flashes. Jimmy, I believe you're new still, so there'll be flashes that will still come out communicating those updates, and we'll announce it like at the top of these calls.
Moving on to Eugenie. Q1 says, can districts continue to run reports after LEA approving their end of year reports? Yes, definitely. In fact, you can approve all your submissions and then continue to work on them, right? And so what will happen is that CalPADS is going to create a revised and certified revision in the backend. And so what you can do is go into your certification detail screen and just change the status to say revised uncertified. And you'll be able to access all of your reports with the latest and greatest information without needing to decertify or worry about your LEA approved reports. Those are set in stone already, but you can continue reviewing and making updates as needed. Okay, this is the third anonymous. So I'm gonna, well, this is Q1. Folks, if you can please rename yourselves so that we are not answering question 2s and above for different people. But I think Sin answered this question for us already. It says, where can we find the recordings of these meetings? And it is in our CSIS YouTube channel, and you can get to our CSIS YouTube channel by going to our CSIS website, and there's the icon right there at the bottom. Or you can go through there and go to our YouTube video or YouTube channel. You can subscribe from here, so you get notifications whenever a new video gets posted, and you can see our Q&As listed there. Okay. And okay. And Rosario saying that she did try 3 different browsers and nothing. So yeah, it is a known issue and we are working on it for the reports. Doug, Q1. The recommendation I have always gone by is 14 days. Oh yeah, 14 days of making sure that you're updating CalPads with updates from your SIF. Kevin, Q1. We are investigating our teacher assignment monitoring outcomes. Can you share some resources to help us analyze whether we have actual CalPads errors or CalSAS issues when we have high incompletes and unknowns? The only resource I know is the CalSAS website, which has their own set of resources that you can go through. They have, I believe, trainings as well about how you can review your determinations, I believe it's what they call them.
Yes, you're correct. And then I do want to be, this came up in conversation in a meeting earlier today. And so I do want to be really clear in that it is okay to, and Brandy's on the call. I feel like my predecessor has announced this many times. There are some, what do you call them? Not exceptions, but there are some misassignments that are going to be valid misassignments, and those are okay, especially if it's like a teacher vacancy or so, that those, let us know, okay? Because that's the data that they are collecting to be best to understand, where are the areas of need for our state. And Kyron posted it in the chat, Alex.
Awesome. Okay.
The assignment monitoring resources as well. And so I'm not sure what COE that was either, but it is, thank you for bringing the question here. Also, it is really for LEAs, districts, charter schools. It is really important to work with your monitoring authority, but also working internally with your HR directors, your credential analysts to, support that you all are making the correct choice, whether it be for courses, whether it be for teachers, and reviewing 4.3 before submitting it.
All right. We have another anonymous. Again, I'm just going off of what they put here. So if you put question 1, I'm going to trust that this is a question 1. It says, we are working on uploading our CalPads data files for the IDC LEA Drill Down Center. they asked for the following files: SENR, SINF, SWID, SMEET, Plan, SPRG, SELA, CERS, and SOF. Can you please assist where I will find all of these files? Thank you so much. I'm assuming that they're asking for the ODS extracts. And if so, you can, and Paul is showing you where to get there. From the navigation bar on the left-hand side, you can click on extracts, and then it'll be there in the middle there, ODS extracts, and you can select each, whatever file type it is that they're asking for. I'm hoping that they're telling you what the academic year is that they need it, the data for, or date range. And yeah, I hope that that helps. Okay.
And then on a side note, Jan made a really great comment in the chat. She put it at Alex, but actually, Martha, I think this one's you. If we can maybe change our settings to not allow participants to have the option to send anonymously.
Oh, maybe Marshall can.
Yeah, I
Oh,
did
okay.
it. I did that, but you know how Zoom does. Sometimes it just doesn't take those settings.
Yeah, it kicks back. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, good. All right. Moving on to Claudia, Q1. What about report 5.4, homeless? I started at 3 p.m. and it's still running. And yeah, Natasha says that the same. Eldrick has the same issue, just spinning.
I don't think we have a known issue for that one. So Claudia, if you could put in a ticket for us, you can ask for Angela and I'll get that logged for you. Yeah, usually after 40 minutes or so, I would abandon it. It's not going to run at that point.
Bavita from Poway, Q1. What are Martha's post-retirement plans? We will miss you, Martha. Thank you for your awesome support over the years and congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you. I have 3 grandkids, so I'll make myself available for them and just puttering around the house, gardening and travel. Nothing exciting. Just no more CalPads to think about.
And see, with
That is
that
exciting.
answer, Babita, like she's like, oh, she'll just be puttering around the house. I'm like, yes, that leaves her wide open for phone calls or consultations. John, because she needs them. So I'm like, yay, thank you.
Jerry, Q1. Hey, Jerry. Says, I was curious if there are any reports in CalPads that show where students went after exiting our LEA. I know this can be done by looking up each student one by one, but I was curious if there was a report for this or any plans to create a report. I don't believe so. All our extracts and all our reports pull based on enrollment, pretty much. And so if this,
We have been asked about this. It's probably hidden in the backlog. It's just something we never got around to.
I agree,
right,
Martha.
Angela?
I'm almost positive there's a CR for that. Yeah, that it's in the backlog somewhere. But Jerry and Melissa, you're not the first person to ask us that. Seems like it's a helpful report for you guys.
In the meantime, the other Angela or anyone else help me figure out what report number this is, but sometimes it comes up in your ERD reports when you have an exit reason discrepancy stating that, you know, you thought the kid was transferring to private school because that's what parents put when they exited or when on the withdrawal paperwork at the LEA. However, you often find that maybe they just moved to another to another public school somewhere else. And that gives you the heads up to be able to update your exit code, but then also to your local information, your local SAS.
That's a good point, John. The people I've worked with are mostly districts with declining enrollment, and they're trying to analyze where the kids are going so they can, do some work locally to fix that trend.
All right, we're going to circle back now to question 2 from Miguel, and this was at 3:17 p.m. Says, hello, again, Some of the districts before us did not reclassify some of their English learners in CALPADS prior to exiting them, but have sent over their scores and reclassification. Moving forward, should we record the RFIB date as our district's first day of school? I believe that is the guidance. 219?
The one after it. Yes, 219, but the one after it. The new one that went out.
More recent, yeah, 27 something.
Yeah. 277? Yes. 277 is going to be the newer flash. It does reference 219 though. You can put those two together. Miguel, please ensure that you are within the time frames for that reclassification as well. That is very, very imperative, because if not, it could still result in you still having to test that student if that RFEP isn't completed within the time frames.
Anonymous. If someone needs access to Tom's DER, do they need an account in CalPADS first? If not, what next can they do?
No, I don't know what CER is. If you need access to Tom's ETS CAS, that testing, that would go through your testing coordinator for your LEA to assign you that access. There is I think there's still a video. I know the waiver form of it is lengthy as I don't know what to read through and sign, and it's like yearly that you have to sign it in order to be like around any type of testing materials, basically. So, CER is probably SIRS. Robin, I still don't know what SIRS is. I don't remember what SIRS is. Like, it sounds really, I'm sorry, we use way too many acronyms. But thank you, Robin. And Robin put the link in there. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, sir. Oh, yes. Thank you. The reports back for SIRS. Yes. To upload those into your SIS. Thank you, Robin, for helping me out. Lord, I was lost. So yes, put those, sorry, to gain access. Yes, that's your testing coordinator through your LEA. You should have a designated admin testing coordinator, typically at your district office, that can provide you that access. If you are your CalPADS LEA admin, it is important for you to have that information so you can upload those scores into your system, or so you can automate it. A lot of SIS vendors have it to where there's like a secret key so that you need to put in there, and it's a two-way information system, but all of that has to be updated.
Okay. Next is Claudia has a comment. Stop report 5.4, but it is showing with a green check in the certification reports list. And then Chris says the green check only verifies whether the report page was opened, not whether it actually loaded. That's correct. So technically, you could still go ahead and do the LEA approval, even though you haven't been able to render the report, which is not awesome. However, better than having it not give you the check mark and you not being able to move forward.
Chris, that's a secret that we try not to tell people.
Yeah. Stephanie, Q1. I was reviewing the 7.15 report and the total certified primary enrollments count does not match with our 1.1 enrollment. We have a total difference of 19. Of course, I just then remembered to check if this is a known issue at the last minute. Any idea when this would be fixed? And I want to say this was one of them where they said it was
The
Yeah,
They
secondary
said working a
enrollment.
design.
It's secondary enrollment. There's a kid on 715 that has a secondary enrollment. 1.1 counts don't include secondary enrollments. So I don't know if you can run 7.15 and exclude secondary enrollments and see if then your counts match up. So it's not going to be fixed. It's working as designed. Sorry.
Oh, it says, okay. She'll try that. Thank you, Martha. All right, that was it for all the questions.